Hey guys, my name is Naisha and welcome back to my channel, Caffeinated Nooks. Today's video is a video that I was a little bit apprehensive about filming, but I'm gonna film it anyway. And the video that I'm filming today is all the books that I've read in 2023. Now, I feel like a lot of people, when they watch these videos, they expect like a lot of books. And I don't have a lot of books. I'm so sorry about it. Last year was a tough year for reading for me. Started back school. It was just a lot. I started back work and it was just all over the place. So I definitely did not have the opportunity to read as many books as I would have liked to, but we're in a new year and I have set a goal and I decided that I will now start using my Goodreads as much as I can remember. So my goal for this year is 75 books, which is a long way from the amount of books that I've read this year. And while I read very few books, I read many 5-star reads. And so I think it just balances out. I think a lot of times people on BookTube give this notion, and no offense to them, but I feel like they give this notion that you have to read tons and tons of books to be a reader, and you definitely don't. You know, people have lives outside of this. Some people may have more time. Doesn't mean that they're more of a reader than you. It just means that they have more time to read. So in my case, I am a full-time master's student and I am working many hours a week. So I did not have as much time, and I thought I'd come on here as a representation for the people who didn't get to read as many books as they wanted to, but still read some, okay? Also, if you read any books this year, give yourself a pat on the back, because that's a huge accomplishment in this time where everything that's going on in the world. So if you've read one book, be proud of yourself. I'm counting 19 books. I thought I had a little bit more, but if it is, then it is. I don't remember in which order I read the books because, like I said, I don't really document a lot of the books that I read on Goodreads, which I'm going to try to be more better at, because I feel like why not? It's just something to do. So I do have to update the 2 books that I have already read. And I've already read 2 books and I'm on my 3rd book, because I am doing currently a video about like a week of me reading romance novels, because you know I'm a fantasy girly. I said, let me just read some romance for my followers, see how it is. He was cracking with it. One of them I just was like, nah, but y'all gotta watch that video to find out. I'm just gonna go in no particular order, whatever books are first, and the first books are a series. Other book is somewhere on my bed, but here are the first 4 books. I have the 5th one. It's somewhere over there, but I read the entire series. You guys probably heard me speak about it in a few vlogs, but all of the books for me were a 5 out of 5. I loved them. Honestly, if I could say which book was my favorite, I would have to say the first and the last, but all of them to me were a 5 out of 5. I really enjoyed the characters. I felt like if you were to read it when it was first coming out, I feel like you grow with the characters, you grow to love them. I love the characters, and I don't think I read Percy Jackson when I was younger. I think maybe I read the first book. I don't remember much about it, and then I found out that the show was coming out, and I was like, well, Annabeth is Black girl, so you know we support our Black girlies. And I'm hearing that the show is actually like has different things going on, and Percy's relationships and thoughts on his dad is a little bit different than the book, but I'm not really watching Disney right now. After I read the series, I just felt motivated to read more, but also unmotivated, because I was like, there's nothing else like this. You know, you read a book, and I think every book is unique in its own way, and you know that you're not going to be able to find another book like this book or the book that you currently read. So I get a little bit of hangover, a little bit of sadness. And if you guys don't know, I cry after every book. Well, the good ones, because I have grown such an attachment to the characters and the world and the story that it's really hard for me to let go. Next book I read is These Violent Delights. I think I gave this a 4.5 star. Yeah, I think so. It wasn't quite a 5 because I felt like the story itself was a little bit slow. You know what it gave me? Like the feeling that it gave me when I was reading it. It gave me like Addie LaRue, and not like is like the story is similar, but like in the sense that the pacing was very similar. It was a very slow pacing, and then it started picking up like towards the middle and the end. So I gave it a 4.5 stars. I really love the characters. I love Julia. I love Roma. I am so anxious to get the 2nd book, and I would have gotten it, but I was like, right after I read this book, I got into like a reading slump, and I was like, I'm not in the mood. And then I went on like a book buying ban. I'm not buying books until like February. So when I do buy the books, I will definitely be buying the 2nd book to this, because it was a really good, it just, the pacing was a little bit slow for me. But other than that, this book is amazing. This This is These Violent Delights by Chloe Gong, and I absolutely love this book. On my tabs and all my books. There's one book I read recently that didn't have as many tabs, but look at that. 100% a really good book. If you guys don't know, it's kind of like a Romeo and Juliet retelling. So many books like that, like so many different books, but I think it was really cool because it was based in Shanghai and it gave a little culture. It was fun, and I think the twists and the turns are just amazing. I love this book. I can really see why it was such a popular book on TikTok and why so many people spoke about it, because I really did enjoy the book, and the writing was really pretty. Like, it was a really well-written book. Just know when February comes and you guys get that massive book haul, just know that I haven't shopped for books since mid-October. So I just want to buy as many books as I possibly can buy, and I don't want to hear anything about it. Okay, next book was 100% one of my favorite books. I talk about this book, I get a little teary-eyed. You guys know what I'm talking about. Blood Marked by Tracy Deonn. One of my favorite series of all time, and it's being continued. There's going to be a third book. I don't know if there's going to be a fourth book. I feel like there should be as many books as possible because I really love this book. I talked about it in my 5-star reads, my favorite books of all time. If you guys want to check that out, I'll link it up above. One of the books that really invokes such a raw emotional response for me, and it's because I feel so understood when I read this book. I feel so included when I read this book. I feel like I'm being represented, and I am. Brie is a black character, and I feel it on a different level, and I feel like you wouldn't be able to feel it unless you were a black girl, a young black girl who loved to read when they were younger but didn't really have representation. So being able to have that, seeing this, I've never reread a book. I haven't, but this is the book that I will go back to and go back to certain parts of the book and reread. Like, this is the only book. I feel like they're just so significant. I feel like they're so important to me, and I feel like if you've read this book, then you know. Brie is an amazing character. Sometimes she's annoying. She's like a little sister. That's what she is. She's really annoying. Sometimes you want to snap her back into reality, but nonetheless, you love her. You adore her. And all of the characters are so well written. I'm so happy that in this book, we got to see a little bit more of William. I'm so happy that we got to see a little bit more of Alice, because in the first book, I wasn't really feeling Alice. But I think in this book, I definitely got more of her, and I got to like her a lot more because I saw how she was with Brie, and I saw the dynamic a lot more than in the first book, where it was mostly focused with Brie and her finding a way to get into the order. I definitely think everybody should check it out. Go check it out. Next book is one of the books that I definitely feel like I read early on in the year, and I read this for a vlog. I will also link it up. A lot of these books have been talked about in videos, honestly. So if you go back and view my videos, you'll probably see my raw reaction of a lot of these books. If it was in a reading vlog or if it was in what I read this month, you'll see like how I really felt. But I'm gonna give you a synopsis. This book, Daisy Jones and the Six, everybody was raving about it on TikTok early in the year because the TV show was coming out on Amazon Prime, I believe. When I was hearing all the hype about this book, I was like, oh, because I had saw it in the bookstore and it has a cover of a girl. And you guys know how I feel about actual people in the covers. I'm like, but I was like, let me read it. And then I ended up making a vlog about it because I was like, I'm reading it anyways, so why not? This book was not what y'all told me it was gonna be, and I gave it a 3.5 star. I didn't like the writing style of the book. One, it was like an interview style the whole time. I don't know if what I was expecting per se, but I wasn't expecting it to be an interview style the whole time. I could deal with it. I thought it was unique. I thought it was different. I had never read a book that was written in interview style, but there were like things that were happening in the book that pissed me off. I don't like Billy. I think Billy was a shitty person and a shitty dad, shitty husband. Warren, Camilla, and I think it was Eddie. Those were my people. But I just think that there was a lot of enabling. It wasn't giving everything that I thought it was gonna give. Not my favorite book. It was a 3.5 because I feel like y'all lied to me. Or maybe I was just watching the wrong people. It wasn't the best book. Deal with the Elf King. I forgot what I rated this book. Actually, let me check. This book I got because one, I love this cover. The cover is absolutely gorgeous. And I thought that the book was gonna be as good as the cover, and I was mistaken. I feel like it was enemies to lovers. I don't know if that would be the perfect classification, but it was definitely a forced marriage. She definitely wasn't here for it, and then immediately turned over. And if you know me, one of my pet peeves is when it's supposed to be like enemies to lovers or forced marriage and like the girl's not into it, and then it flips so quick, like the next page you're in love. I felt like that was that. I felt like the romance was a lot more rushed in this book, and I didn't like it. So I gave it a 2.8 stars, which probably is my lowest rating. Next book is The Hating Game by Sally Thorne. I think I gave this a 4.5 to 5 stars. Honestly, don't remember. I liked this book. And it was like a cute little moment. I read it, I believe, in between the beginning when I first started the Percy Jackson series. I have read like 2-3 of the books, and I was like, I just need a break. And so I was like, a romance book it is, because you know those are my palette cleansers. Those are my in-between books. So I read it. I really liked Josh. I really liked Luke. I liked their little relationship and their back and forth, and then I liked how they got together, and I liked how it all developed. I liked it. I think it was a good book. I think the pacing was really good. I think that everything that happened, I just loved it. It just really one of those books that, like, maybe it's not the best written book, maybe it's not the best book ever, but it really was fun for me to read, and I loved it with all my heart. Was Pet by Kwike Emezi. You guys already know why I got Ace of Black on the cover. Let's act like we know. I read this book and I really enjoyed it. I think I gave it a 5-star, and it's a really short book. It's like no more than 2-something pages. The font is a little bit bigger. It's like, I think it's like a children's book to like a young adult book, and I really enjoyed it. I think it had really important messages in the story. Like, you don't know people for real. You don't know them. You don't know who they are. Anybody could be disguised as a good person. They might not be. It was a really good book. I definitely said, I remember in the video, I was like, I would recommend it to anyone who has kids that like to read. This is a really good book for them to read. I enjoyed it. It has representation, transgender. The character, she transitioned. She is just amazing. I love her. I love how she's written. I love the story, really. I like everything that happens in the story. I love the hidden messages and the little hidden gems within the story that relay the message of good and bad, and what is viewed as good and bad, and who is viewed as good or bad, and how that's not, everything is not as it seems. And there's a vlog on it, so I'll link it up there. The next book that I read was definitely towards the end, and this is The Best Kind of Forever by Celeste Byers. This book, I think I rated it a 3-star. It wasn't the best book I read. It was not bad. I was definitely kicking my feet at certain parts, but I feel like the real meat and potatoes of the story happened at the very tail end, like the last 30 pages, and everything was forgiven and forgotten within like 2 days. And that's probably my issue with the book, how everything that was really important happened here. If you don't know, this book was basically guy who is a famous hockey player. He's a playboy. He gets with a girl who has a lot of trauma, and it's basically a fake dating trope, and essentially she doesn't know about it. So when she does find out about it in the last 30 pages, and then she goes on a trip, and then she comes back 2 days later, everything's forgotten, all is forgiven. And I definitely think that he tried to manipulate her, because when she found out, she didn't believe it at first, and then she was like, I should have believed it. He was like, what are you talking about? And she was like, I knew someone tipped me off, but I didn't believe it because I trusted you. And he's like, well, who's hiding secrets now? Somebody told you that I was lying to you and you couldn't tell me. And I'm like, that sounds a little like manipulation to me. That sounds that sounds manipulative. Overall though, there were so many parts in this book that really had me giggling, kicking. There is a little bit of spice in here, I think. I remember. Usually when there's spice in books, I'm not even gonna lie to you, I really do skip over it. Like, I don't really care for the whole description of everything going on. I don't care. I'm trying to get to the meat and potatoes. When is she gonna find out? It was a 3-star. Yeah, definitely. I enjoyed it though. Next book, I believe it was Pride and Protest, and I think I gave this a 5-star. It was the fun book. It was so fun. I enjoyed every second of it. It essentially is my lovely girl Liza. She is very much so an activist in her neighborhood. She runs a podcast, radio station thing, and she talks about different things happening in the community. She is very outspoken, and when there's this rich guy who is the head of a corporation, and he comes in this and he's trying to build new housing instead of the affordable housing, she is very much so like, absolutely not. And protests are organized, and she's trying to get her foot in that door to potentially stop this, potentially do something about it. And we get to see the relationship between Liza and Dorsey, and I really do enjoy Dorsey. I really enjoyed the romance. I really enjoyed how it developed. I really enjoyed everything about it, honestly. There were some things in here that upset me, like her mother, but like I spoke about in my video when I did this, it's something that's very prevalent in Black households, where a mother is very critical and very judgmental of her black daughters, and Liza's mom was really mean to her, and I think Liza was so desensitized to how her mother treated her that we didn't really get her full thoughts and her full emotions when her mother was doing this, because it probably was something that was so prevalent and something that she was so used to. I really would have liked that to be expanded upon, but other than that, I feel like it was a really good book for what it was. The next book that I have here is The Grim Reaper's Lawyer, and this is by May Monique. She is on TikTok. I follow her on TikTok. I followed her originally because she was going to law school. You guys know my whole little journey with the law school. I was like, I'm gonna go to law school, and then I found out she was writing a book, and I was like, I gotta get it, I gotta read it. So I eventually got it. I rated this book I normally high for what was going on in the book, and I rated it that because I simply just liked it. It was like a book at a time, and I rated it a 4-star. Now, not the best writing, probably not the best story, but I did rate it that much because it was a book that really got me out of a slump. It got me out of a slump. Now, not for long, but it got me out the slump that I was in at that point, and I read it and I was like, okay, now I'm gonna read like 8 more books, and I continued to read quite a few books after this. But this book, if I was reading it from a standpoint that, like, if I just read it when I was not in the reading slump and it was like a regular book and I was just reading it, it probably would have been like a way lower. It probably would have been like a 3. But it was a fun book that got me out of a reading slump. This was a 5-star read. This is Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. If you guys don't even know, if you haven't read this book, I would highly recommend that you read this book. It is so beautifully written. It is so emotional. The love in this book is so strong, and I don't think I've read a book like this book that has made me feel like I want to be in love like this book makes me feel. Like, it made me feel like love is the best thing in the world. Like, love, being in love, loving someone is just the most amazing thing in the world. And the way it's written is so beautiful and so gorgeous, and I feel like everyone should read this book just so they can see how the love is described and how it's felt, and like how ingrained it is in the characters to love each other. And it's just so beautifully written. It's one of my favorite books that I've read. I would recommend it to anyone. I recommend it to literally anyone. Look at my hands looking all ashy, girl. I just got in and washed my hands, so mind your business. The next book is another book that I did a vlog on. This is Magnolia Parks by Jessica Hastings. This was a book that everyone talked about, and I have Daisy Heist, the second book in the Magnolia Parks universe. Everybody talked about this book, and I think I gave it a 5 stars. Did I give it a 5 or 4.5 or 5 stars? One of those. Literally, it put me through so much. It put me through like so much emotional damage. The ending was unbelievable. I was like, hold up, wait a damn minute. I thought it was something like that because I was like, there's no way that this man that's talking about this woman in the way that he's talking about this woman would ever cheat on her willingly. Here we are. Somebody said in the 3rd book we're really gonna find out why he cheated, even though I feel like we found out why he cheated or who he cheated with in this book. But the thing about it is, I don't like BJ, and I know the Magnolia Parks girlies are gonna come after me, but it's the way he acts. It's the way he acts. I truly believe that love, when you are in love with someone, it is unconditional. I feel like in every aspect, when you are in love with someone, I feel like that is like earth-shattering. And for him to state how in love he is with Magnolia, he's very much so not showing it. The way that he continues to disrespect her time after time after time, the way that his friends even knew what was happening. Well, not all of them, but he spoke of her like she was the sun and the moons, but he treated her like she was the lowest of the low, and I can never get behind that. I don't like BJ. I don't know if my opinion is going to change of him as the books go on, but as of the 1st book, I really truly don't like him. And I was getting so pissed off about the cycle keep going on and on and on and on. I was really angry. I was like, girl, this is pissing me off. And if you saw my vlog, which if you saw my vlog, then you know that like the emotions that I was going through, I was like so mad, and I was even more mad. I was confused. I was like, girl, what the fuck is going on? Like, I was lost in the sauce. I felt like I was watching a soap opera. Couldn't be me though. But I feel like she should have stood on business. For the ending to be what the ending was, she need to get her get back. I'm telling y'all, she need to get her get back. If you read the book, she need to get her get back. And the last book Terms and Conditions. I think I gave it like a 4.5, 5-star. This was a really good book. It's about Declan and Iris. It's from both of their points of view, so it's a dual point of view. Declan is an heir to a billion-dollar company. It's a series. I didn't read the first one and I didn't read the second one. The only reason I came for this one is because Miss Girl, she's, you know, black girls, right? She's dating a rich man. So I was really pleasantly surprised by how well it was written. I just really enjoyed it. Only thing, I was expecting a lot more. And that's because that's the fantasy reader in me. Like I said this, every time I read a romance book, I expect like somebody to be lurking in the shadows ready to blow up everything. You know, because that's what fantasy is about. Like the book is done, but it's never done because the villain is waiting. He's waiting to heal up and get his lick back. And so I really enjoyed it though. I really enjoyed it. So that is the end of this video, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I enjoyed reading these books. I know that you guys probably have seen these books on my channel before, but I just wanted to get this out because I feel like it's an important video to post for those of us who don't read as much. Just know that you read as much as you could. And that's the point of it. For me, it's never about the amount of books that I read. It's always about, did I read the books that I could enjoy, that I enjoyed? Because reading for me is all about the fun. It's never about how many books did I read. Before I got onto book talk, I never like thought about, did I read enough books for everybody to be like, oh, she read enough books. When I got to book talk, when I got to book 2, when I started thinking about that, like, oh my god, I didn't even read that many books. Before that, it was just like, I read books. I read this many books and I enjoyed these books and I had the time of my life reading these books and you wouldn't believe it. And that's what I want to represent. Will there be times and years that I read like more books than I ever read in my life? Definitely. Like every year I want to be able to read more books than I read the year before, but I also want it to be fun. I know I don't want it to be something that I feel like I have to rush, something that I feel like I have to just do because I'm trying to meet a quota on book top or book 2. Read the books that you want to read at the pace that you want to read them so that you can enjoy them to their fullest, so that you can live in the world for as long as you want to live in the world, and that you can enjoy the story for as long as you want to enjoy the story. And that's it. If you guys like this video, please make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe, and click that little notification bell so you get notifications when I upload, as well as my social media, which will be linked down in the description box below. I do post a lot on Instagram. I'm trying to start posting more on my book talk. Yeah, that's it. Thank you guys. I'll see you guys later. Peace out.